Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to part 4 of the Redux walkthrough on Turbo 360. In part 3 we connected the main container, the to-dos container, to the store, the Redux store, and we rendered the to-dos list from the Redux store, the main application state. So in this part we're going to connect the actions as well and create a couple to-do items using the Redux actions sequence. So that's it. So let's get started. Okay, so here I am in the root directory of the project in my terminal. I'm going to run the dev server. And navigate to localhost to make sure everything still works. This time I'm not going to forget to run Webpack, so open up another tab and run Webpack with the watch flag so that it's always on while you develop the project. So every time you make changes, it'll rebuild. So that's good to go. And then let's reload that and let's go to the to-dos container right here. And let's connect the add to-do function so that it'll actually add a new to-do item to this list via the Redux sequence. So when I reload the page and type in a fake to-do, here's what we have so far. That is this console log right here. So what we want to do now is check out our actions file right here. And notice we have a create to-do item already set for us from the actions list. So we want to connect that in the container all the way down here in the dispatch to props. So we want to now connect it. Like so. Now let's make sure we have our actions file imported, which we don't, so this will crash. So we want to import actions. Okay, notice that this is 2 levels up because right now we're here, so we go up 1 level and then 2 and then grab the actions file. And then if we go back down to the bottom, this create to-do item is essentially a liaison to the actions create to-do item. So we're just basically routing into this action right here, which will then dispatch, send the action to the reducer, any reducer that's registered for this event. So let me grab that diagram to make sure that you can see where we are in the higher level overview. So right now we are here going to here. That's the dispatch to props to dispatch is happening right here. And then the action will then send the package to the reducer, which will then listen for any actions that you tell it to, and then create the corresponding change. So if we go back to the to-dos container, just like the state to props, this maps this function as a property to the component. So what that means is this function is now a property of this overall to-dos component, the container. So we can do this.props, and then call the function. And then you want to pass in the to-do item itself. So then this will go down here and then dispatch the action right to the actual actions itself, which is over here. And then this will send this payload to the reducer, which should be listening for create to-do item, which is right here. Now if you go back to the action, you'll see that there's also a data payload. So we can console log the data payload to make sure that the action is properly being sent to the reducer. And if so, we will see it in the console log. So let's test it. So we go back here and make sure that Webpack is still running, which it is. And now we reload the page here. Make sure your console is open so we can see it. And then let's add a to-do list to the item. So respond to emails. That's more of a description, so we'll just say emails. And here we have a crash. So in the reducer we have a crash, so line 15. So I forgot it's in the action key, so the object, excuse me. So the action object has a data key, which is the payload of the action, which is being binded right here. So, careless mistake, let's try it again. Reload, emails, and there it is. So here what matters is that it's coming from the reducer. So the reducer is successfully receiving the action payload right there. So that's good. That's what we want to see. So now we can grab that in the reducer and add it to the list. So let's see here. Let's do let todos equals object. Let's do this instead. Let's do new state equals object. Okay, and then let's do this. So here we're creating a copy of the array of the current to-dos, and then let's add the new to-do item to the array, and then in the new state let's reassign the to-dos variable, and then here we want to return the new state. We're basically reassigning the state of the reducer, which will then trigger a re-render on this component because it is currently listening to that entire reducer, which will then re-render all of this right here. This array will be updated with the new item, the new to-do list item, and then everything will re-render. So assuming I didn't make any mistakes. So let's try it. And there we go. And so that's it. So now we have the actions sending data to the Redux store via the reducer. And then since the reducer has been changed and updated, the container component, this to-dos component, is listening for it by virtue of this right here. And then that will trigger a re-render, and the new to-do item has been added here. We can keep on going too. If we add another one, dog, walk the dog, it'll keep on adding. So there we go. So forth and so on. So that's it. As you can see, it's a fairly consistent pattern. We're basically binding regular objects in the state as well as actions. And these objects and actions interface with reducers, which basically are the Redux store. You know, in the aggregate, they're the Redux store. And then any container that's listening to the reducer via state to props will respond to changes. So to be clear, this right here is what's triggering the re-render over here. So for example, if I had done this instead, return state, it won't work. If I do email, respond to emails. It won't re-render because the change in state was never registered. We have to return the new state, and this actually triggers a re-render on container components. I should say registered container components. So that's sort of the crux of the architecture, is making sure you know when a re-render is triggered and when it's not. And that's pretty much it. So this covers the core elements of React Redux. What I'm going to do in the next video is, you may recall, each one of these items in the to-do list has a description attached to it, but there's nowhere in this current UI where that's being rendered. So what I'm going to do is add a little description area right here, such that when I click on one of these, it will trigger the description to show up here. So right now what I'm going to do, because this video is a little bit quicker than I thought, is I'm going to add a click handler right here. So I'm in the to-dos container. I'm adding a anchor tag to each item name in the to-do list. It'll be going to a hashtag like that. And then let's just see how that looks. Okay. So these are now anchor tags going nowhere. And then I'm going to bind a click handler to it called select to do item. Okay, we're doing the prevent default to make sure it doesn't actually go to the anchor tag location, this href. We actually don't want that to happen. We just want to see select to do item. And then we can also pass in the item itself. Okay, so then in here we can bind that like so. I'm going to do a quick word wrap. And then pass in the item itself like that. And now when we click these items, we should see which selected item we clicked on. Excuse me. So now, since we're working with actions right now, let's create another action right now called select item, so that the reducer can be notified of this item. And then let's create a constant item selected. Well, these are really to-dos, so to-do. So to-do item selected. And then don't forget, we have to now go to the constants and create that corresponding string constant. And then we have to go to the reducer and register to listen to that event. So let's do that. We actually don't need these parentheses. I don't know why I put these here. Clearly it doesn't matter, it doesn't hurt, but I don't think I really meant to do that. Okay, and then let's just do a console log for now, just like we normally do. And then let's return the new state this time. Okay, so now we have another action with a corresponding constant and reducer listener, which is just a console log right now. And then inside the to-dos container, we can now bind that action as a property. So select item, just like that. So now this action is now a property on this component. So we want to check in on Webpack, make sure we didn't crash anything, which everything looks good. And then let's go up here and call the action now. Props. Select item. So now we should see the console log here as well as from the reducer. So let's confirm that. And another crash. To-dos line 35. So probably forgot the props. Nope. Forgot the S on props. Okay, let's try it again. So here it is. We have this one coming from the container and this one from the reducer. So we can keep on confirming that. And that's it. So now in the reducer, we want to create another property in the overall state. So we'll call it selected, which is initialized as null. And then we should then take the new state and reassign the selected value as the data payload from the action. Now this won't have any visual confirmation. We won't be able to tell. But what we're doing is we're binding this data to the state as underneath the selected key so that it is now stored inside the entire Redux store. And that means any other component that we care about, that cares about this item, can then register to listen for it and make UI changes, re-renders based on that. So right now I'm just going to make sure nothing broke. Everything looks good. And we are set to go. Let's just add one more item. Email. Send, respond to emails. Everything looks good. So in the next video, we're going to connect another component right here, and it will show the details of the selected to-do item, so we can see more details here. So that's it. Hopefully you followed along this video, and let me know if you have any questions or comments. You can reach me on via email. That's my email. And I just launched a Slack invite page. Which is deployed on Heroku. I'll make this easier to access on my website. But if you want to join the Slack channel, go right here and just punch in your email and you'll get an automatic invite to the Slack channel. So where a lot of people are asking questions, I'm trying to get back to everyone. A lot of people ask questions on the Slack channel and we try to get back to people. So that's it. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.